So there are a few boxing matches coming up, but what makes them a good fight or a terrible fight? Watch this video. Hello, welcome to Tommy Edson. I hope you're well. So there are lots of boxing matchups that some people favor, some people don't. They just see two names on a billboard and think, oh, that's going to be a terrible fight. That's going to be a crap fight. But I'm just interested to see what your thoughts are on what makes a good fight. So for me, it's all about the competition. It's a competition between two fighters. Now, are we talking about levels of fighting, levels of skill? Not necessarily, because you could have two great fighters, pound for pound great, but the actual fight turns out to be, well, a bit of a poor spectacle. It might be a good boxing match in terms of technical ability, but it's a bit of a snooze fest. I can think of, let's say, Crawford against Madrimov. That was a bit of a snooze fest. I loved the fight in terms of what it was technically, but in terms of a spectacle, it wasn't that great. You could talk about Beterbiev against Bivol. Okay, technically it was a great fight, and there were elements in that fight that were fantastic. But in terms of an out-and-out banger, it just wasn't. It just wasn't that kind of fight. It was still a great fight, but it just wasn't. So if you want to expand this out and say, what is a great fight? Just because a boxer or a couple of boxers are at world-class level, it doesn't mean it's going to be a great fight. And we've seen so many fights over the years that have just been absolutely nonsense. Whereas you can have fights, let's say, even at a local level, at your local sports centre, let's say, and it can be an absolute banger. Two fighters, two boxers, just going at it, whatever level they're at, and it just is an entertaining fight to watch, and they're just giving it their all and just keep on going no matter what. That for me is a great fight to watch. So sometimes I'll talk about upcoming fights, and it will appear in the comments. Somebody say, "Oh, that's a crap fight." What they're talking about a fight between two people that they don't really know, let's say, or they're not at a high level, and just because they're not at a high level, they say that's a crap fight, and I totally disagree. I don't think that at all. Just because they're at a lower level, it doesn't mean it's going to be a crap fight, or it doesn't mean that it's not even going to be an entertaining fight. It just means that it's not to the level that you expect. Now, are we expecting all fights to be at world level? Are we expecting all fights to be bangers? Are we expecting all fights to be 50-50 fights? There's so much in what makes a fight a great fight or not a great fight, a crap fight. But it's not usually based on the two fighters themselves. It's about the matching. Are these two fighters matched? So let's just say, for example, I made a video a couple of days ago about Tommy Fury against Darren Till coming up in January the 18th. A couple of comments and other videos out there were saying, oh, this is a crap fight, this is a crap fight. For me, this isn't a crap fight. This is actually quite an interesting fight because you got two. One is relatively unknown in boxing. One we kind of know at a lower level in terms of where he is in the British boxing scene. This could actually be a great matchup. It could be a great fight. Now, it could be a bit ragged when you watch it. Yes, no doubt. It could be technically not the best, but in terms of a bust-up, in terms of a barnstorming fight, this is probably going to be a great fight to watch. Now, you take other fights where people say, oh, this is going to be a fantastic fight. Most notably, the Mike Tyson against Jake Paul, where even shamefully, ex-boxers, professional boxers saying, oh, Mike Tyson's going to win. And then you're like going, what are you talking about? And I've made videos about this, so I'm not going to harp on about it. But you're not reading the room. You're not seeing what's there, because that was always going to be a terrible fight. And that was always going to be a one-way fight as well. And, whether it was rigged, whether it wasn't rigged, whether it was just a really old man against somebody who really can't box, whichever way you look at it, it's always going to be a poor fight. So for me, that is a crap fight. There are other fights, let's just say at a local level, or a British level, European level, whatever, a regional level, wherever you are in the world, you think these are fantastic fights to watch. Now, they might not appeal to the wider audience. They may not appeal to the casual fan. So maybe that's when people say, oh, that's a crap fight. Well, maybe they're just not appreciative of what boxing is, what fighting really is, and what fighting can be at various different levels. Boxing for me is always about the competition. Actually, all combat sports is always about the competition. You're matching up one fighter against another fighter who's they're kind of the same. If you have one fighter who's way, way too good for another fighter, it's not a contest. It actually becomes a boring fight. Yeah, it could be a knockout straight away. It could be somebody just taking the piss out of the other boxer, but it's not a fight. It's a crap fight in many ways. But if you get two fighters that were equally matched and their styles gel as well, this is going to be an absolute great fight. And this comes down to the matchmakers, the promoters, the managers, and the boxers themselves to come together and see, well, can we make this a great fight? And this is where the likes of Turki Al-Sheikh in Saudi Arabia, Riyadh Season Fight Cards, that's what it tried to do. They tried to iron out all these crap fights, all these ones that are just not entertaining, and they just want the best fights, the best barnstormer fights. Do they always get it right? Of course they don't. There's always going to be fights that are not working out. But in terms of trying to go that way, yeah. So just because a boxer doesn't have a name or they're not at the greater levels, let's say, it doesn't mean it's going to be a crap fight. And I would wager against anybody, just because it's a Tommy Fury, for example, against a Darren Till, that this is going to be a crap fight. Now, it might be. I just don't know. Obviously, somebody else can see into the future. All I'm saying is that it has a potential of being a really decent fight, possibly a much more decent fight than Misfits have been putting on for the last year or so, which they haven't really captured the imagination. I've talked about their boxing in the past. It's either got to raise its profile, raise its quality, or the influencers that are getting in there, they got to be more influential. They've got to talk the talk a little bit more. They've got to walk the walk as well. But this fight can deliver where all their other fights haven't been able to. This is what could be a great fight to watch. Not in terms of levels, not in terms of technical ability, but in terms of spectacle. This could be a great fight. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like what I do here, just keep on watching the videos and I'll catch you again. Bye now.